Explosive accusations from President Trump today alleging former President Obama tapped the phone lines at Trump Tower just weeks before the election.
You know, it's sort of our job to let you know when things are said that aren't true, especially by people you've elected. And this president keeps telling untrue things.
President Trump's tweets claiming that former President Barack Obama ordered the wiretapping of telephones at Trump Tower during the election.
The president does not sign warrants for wiretaps. If police need a warrant for a wiretap, they go to a judge and they get an order.
When Russia was hacking into the election, hacking into the Democrats, the DNC, your guys were on the phone with the Russians.
President Trump has not presented any evidence, and Obama's spokesman says, quote, neither President Obama nor any White House official ever ordered surveillance on any U.S. citizen. Any suggestion otherwise is simply false.
Today he said I had the biggest electoral win since Ronald Reagan. He didn't.
President Obama got 365 in 2008.
Well, I'm talking about Republican.
President Obama 332, and George H.W. Bush 426 when he won as president. So why should Americans trust you when you're misrepresenting information?
I was just given. We had a very, very big margin.
The question is, why should Americans trust you when you accuse the information they receive of being fake when you're providing information that's not accurate?
I was given that information.
And that you call us fake news and put us down like children for asking these questions on behalf of the American people is inconsequential.
The complaints about the news and complaints about news agencies, the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times, Fox, CNN, it's all meant to deflect.
And Donald Trump now has a lower favorability rating than any other recent president.
I mean, there has been no significant legislation passed since this president has been in office. He has signed into law 0 major policies. The only exception to that is his Muslim ban and refugee ban, which he signed as an executive order at the end of January. Well, today, as the president proclaimed how finely tuned his machine is, as he crowed about how perfectly everything is rolled out thus far, including that Muslim ban, today, that too, his first policy initiative, that today completely fell apart.
If the notion is to take attention away from the ongoing investigation into Russia, do you think that, in fact, this changes the narrative, or does it sort of just build upon it instead?
I think it builds upon it.
The Washington Post reporting tonight that even though it's clear in the recordings and the transcripts that subject, the sanctions subject, was discussed in those calls, the Washington Post reports tonight that Flynn nevertheless denied to the FBI that he had ever discussed those matters with the Russians.
Your opposition was hacked, and the Russians were responsible for it, and your people were on the phone with Russia on the same day it was happening, and we're fools for asking the questions?
They've got him on the transcripts talking about it, and then he told them in person he didn't. If he lied to the FBI, that would be a felony. If it were prosecuted, he could be looking at serious jail time. That said, the decision about whether or not to prosecute him would be made by the Justice Department, which, of course, is now headed up by the man who was the chairman of the National Security Advisory Committee on the Trump campaign, Jeff Sessions, who's now under increasing scrutiny over the fact that he refuses to recuse himself from any investigations of the campaign that he was a part of. Raise your hand if you think Jeff Sessions is going to prosecute Mike Flynn for lying to the FBI.
Well, we know from reports that he apparently had a very bad Friday reacting to the Attorney General's decision to recuse himself from any investigations ongoing or in the future about Russia's alleged involvement in the 2016 elections.
I have no business contacts or connections in Russia, even though we haven't seen his tax return, so we really don't know.
He can't put out something as explosive as these particular tweets, these allegations, these extraordinary allegations that the 44th president wiretapped the 45th president.
The Trump administration also had to pull its labor secretary nominee, Andy Puzder.
How then did you find people felt about his cabinet picks?
They're not getting a lot of approval.
He also announced one of the deputy national security advisors he wanted would be a woman named Monica Crowley. She was a Fox News personality. Not long after her name was announced, it emerged that her last book was substantially plagiarized. And then it was reported that a bunch of her newspaper columns were also plagiarized. Her PhD thesis also substantially plagiarized.
And he hates that the leaks are coming out because the leaks represent true behind-the-scenes information. On the other hand, he wants to discredit anything that's harmful about him as fake news.
The first person who the new president picked to be Secretary of the Army was a billionaire finance guy who had been a Trump donor, Shortly after his nomination was announced to lead the Army, it emerged that he had recently been written up in a police report for punching a guy out.
That kind of general kind of throwing up fake news to block anything has its limitations. Reality is intruding.
Within a matter of 5 days, 3,000 pages of documentation that his office was illegally withholding about communications between him and oil and gas companies, those are about to be released.
Continual upheaval as some of their picks for top positions in the administration have had to either walk away from these jobs or give up pursuing them for various reasons.
Nobody wants to see the United States of America fail. But if you want to know what it looks like when a president fails, in every conceivable way, in every conceivable measure, this is what it looks like when a president fails in every way.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Wake Up Report. Donald Trump did what a lot of us wanted done for such a long time, and that was to break up the two-party system. Everybody kind of felt that you were being screwed both ways. Neither side had the interests of the American people at heart. So when Donald Trump came on the scene with tough talk, straight talk, no nonsense talk, a lot of people bought into it. Yeah, I bought into a lot of the things that Donald Trump talked about. Could we be looking at the biggest mistake in American politics? And is Donald Trump the wrong guy to come along at the right time? Donald Trump's recent accusations that former President Obama wiretapped Trump Towers during the election has to go down as one of the most ridiculous accusations in politics, number one. Number two, you make an accusation like that, that is a very serious accusation, and you have no proof to back it up. Number three, your staff that handles all your media, when you do these ridiculous things and you say these ridiculous things, all they come with is we can say what we want, and we don't have to prove it. When he spoke in front of Congress last week, I think a lot of people felt that for the first time he actually sounded like a president. And you figure, well, maybe, okay, Donald Trump is done with the tweeting. Donald Trump is done with the just attacks, unwarranted attacks on Obama, and he's going to focus on being a president. And days after that speech, he lets loose with these ridiculous tweets about Obama wiretapping Trump Towers. Don't you think that with as much Republican opposition that Obama has had during his entire reign as president, that if something like that was going on, they would have found out about it a long time ago, and they would have exploited that to no wit's end. They would have destroyed President Obama with that information. Donald Trump's entire staff, over the very short amount of time that he's been president, let's just say his first 100 days, has been nothing more than a bunch of liars, a bunch of crooks, a staff that is woefully incompetent. And this man will lie to your face about his administration running like a fine-tuned machine. Well, that fine-tuned machine is turning out to be nothing more than a beat-up, broken-down jalopy that is about to collapse on the White House lawn. And the absolute sad part about it, that percentage of white America, that percentage of you out there that still supports Donald Trump, even though he has lied to you, deceived you, and done nothing for you, you still back this man, even though it has been proven that members of his staff were on the phone with Russia while they were hacking our election in order to try to turn the tide. That means Donald Trump would have been bought and paid for by Russia. That's okay with you, as long as a black man is not in the White House anymore, or maybe as long as Hillary Clinton didn't get to the White House. You don't have a problem with people conspiring with another country, a country that hates us, just because you want your guy to win. And while Donald Trump has done absolutely nothing in his first 100 days as president, he cannot keep Obama's name out of his mouth. What is it with Obama that you are constantly on Obama? He's not president anymore. You are. Why don't you set your own agenda as president? But it seems like the best you can do is undo everything that Obama has done. You've gone across the country. Now you're firing attorney generals and staff members that was under the Obama administration, and you have nobody to replace them with. So it's just because Obama did it, I'm going to undo it, with no rational logic behind that thinking. It's the same thing with healthcare. You're watching healthcare be destroyed before your eyes under these Republicans. They don't have a plan for healthcare. Ask yourself, how is it that you can come up with a plan for healthcare in less than a month? And you've been, let's just say, since Obama's presidency. So for 8 years, you couldn't come up with something that rivaled or was better than Obama's healthcare plan? And you PowerPoint something together in less than a month. Are you kidding me? This is okay with you white people, who, by the way, many of you don't realize that Obamacare is the Affordable Health Care Act. So what you're out there doing, saying get rid of Obamacare, what you're saying is get rid of the Affordable Health Care Act, that you now, because of Obama, are able to get health insurance for the first time. And you're going to, just because those Republicans are white and the white man is back in charge now, they're going to do such a disservice to you that it's not even funny. You're being screwed royally by Donald Trump and the Republicans, and you don't even know it. Donald Trump says he wants to spend $56 billion for the military, for more bombs and guns and tanks. We have enough stuff to blow people up like 50 times over. Yet you're going to spend $56 billion, and you don't know where you're going to get the $56 billion. I'll tell you where he's going to get it. He's going to get it from us. They're going to tax you for that $56 billion. Where are you going to get the money? The billions of dollars for the Trump wall that they've already said Mexico's not going to pay for. He's going to get it from you. You're going to tax you to try to get that money to pay for that wall. No plans for jobs. No plans for bringing manufacturing back to the United States. You got on these companies about outsourcing and bringing products back in and not paying taxes on them. You know, if these companies are benefiting from manufacturing and producing outside of the United States, tax that stuff coming back in. I was with that, and you've done nothing. As a matter of fact, what you've done is you've just slid right back into the standard mode of rich, white, male Republican behavior. You're not going to do anything to those companies. You flopped on basically everything you talked about. And you know, my thing was crime. What are you going to do about this crime? You got up and you threatened Chicago. You said you're going to send the feds in if they didn't clean up their acts, and you're going to just get all this crime out of these urban areas. In 100 days, what have you done in order to produce any kind of crime bill or any kind of crime initiative to get this stuff rolling? Nothing. All you've done is talk about Obama, talking about repealing and replacing Obamacare, talking about rolling back everything Obama has done. It's like, you know, you're just trying to wipe Obama's presidency out of the history books. And you've not set agenda one for President Trump. Donald Trump has stacked the deck with his friends, his family, cronies, everybody that he is looking out for, except the people who looked out for him. Donald Trump could care less about you. You've been duped, and you're too stupid to realize it. So please, somebody who supports Donald Trump, somebody who thinks Donald Trump is doing a good job, would you please explain to me how Donald Trump is doing a good job as president of the United States? You know, black people know racism when they see it. You know, we've been dealing with racism so long. We know it from the overt, from the covert, from the subtle, from just any angle you want to throw it at us. You know, I admit sometimes black people complain a little bit too much about racism, but we know it when we see it. You know, the absolute tragedy about the whites that support Donald Trump is that you are so blinded by your own racism. You are so blinded by your own hatred and fear of blacks and Muslims and Asians and gays and whatever, that you will allow this man to absolutely ruin this country as long as he is white. Donald Trump's plan was to never drain the swamp. All he's done is plugged up that drain hole and filled that swamp with more swamp things that will benefit off of his candidacy as presidency at your expense because of your racism and your stupidity. Prove me wrong if you think I'm wrong. This is KTM and the Wake Up Report saying think a little bit. It will do wonders for you.